Welcome, everybody, to Future of Beauty Unfiltered. I am your host, Hannah Cook, Head of Growth and Innovation at the Pull Agency. And today we're going to go for a little bit of a different dialogue with the amazing Roxy Marrone from Eyeam, talking about
Oh,
believing your way to better skin. Welcome, Roxy. How are you?
good. Thank you so much for having me on here. We're both on brand with our green backgrounds. And I'm just so excited to speak to you all things I am.
I know Eyeam has been a real eye opener of a brand for me. So I've got so many questions. I think believing your way to better skin, the power of manifestation, combining it with effective formulations for me is such a big part of what you guys do. So I'm going to do a bit of
Yeah.
an intro and then we're going to jump straight into questions. So
Fab.
for anyone that does not know that's listening or watching, because we also have it on YouTube, Roxy is nutrition, health, and I can never talk today, manifestation practitioner who uses her knowledge in mind, body, and spirit to help people embark on their healing journeys. Founder
Mm,
of spiritual lifestyle brand house of Roxy and skincare, plus a supplement brand, Eyeam. I actually was looking at
yeah.
some of the drops that you have kind of to help with the balance
Mm,
hormones in the gut, which I'm really
amazing.
intrigued about. So we'll talk about that. But your mission, Roxy, is
Yeah.
actually to help people heal, isn't it? It,
Yes, that is definitely the mission.
yeah, and it's empowering women to overcome their fears and work on their relationships with themselves. Roxy teaches people how to heal from within with food, lifestyle, and self-development techniques. So welcome, Roxy. Again, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm going to
Likewise.
jump. Oh, buzz it. I'm just going to jump into a really quick question and then we're going to kick off. So, Eyeam as a brand has a really unique approach to wellness and skincare. And when we spoke previously, I mean, we were talking for absolutely ages, and I probably could have carried on talking to
Yeah,
you a good few more hours.
same
But
for
I think
sure.
the approach is so unique. And so, before we go into actually specifically what Eyeam does, I'd love to kind of talk a bit more about your own wellness journey and how you got to the point where you felt Eyeam needed to kind of really come to fruition.
Yeah, for sure. So, really, I am was born out of a shared desire between both my mum and myself, because my mum is my business partner, to bring healing into the world. And it was inspired by my own personal healing journey. And that was really when I think it was about 2022, like just 2022 mid during the summer. That's when I really embarked on my own personal healing journey. I had been living in this kind of vicious cycle of constantly being negative to myself, constant obsessive thinking about myself, about others. My lifestyle was so not what I wanted it to be. I was, going out a lot, partying, surrounding myself with people that didn't really serve my best self. And for me, the trigger was bad skin. So normally, when there's an issue in your spirit, and that's why we our four pillars are mind, body, spirit, and skin, is because when there's an issue in the spirit and issue in the body, then it starts coming out. And this is kind of the universe. I know this is like a little bit woo-woo, and it might be a bit woo-woo for some people, but I will talk about the science in detail as we get on. But it was almost like the universe led me to this path and had to show me a way to do that. And that was bad skin, because I wouldn't have changed otherwise. I would have just lived my life the way I did. And because before I always used to do things to be on a superficial level. So how can this make me look good rather than feel good? And that's kind of where I led that journey. And I had a background in lifestyle wellness before I was doing manifesting workshops with my previous brand. And I was like into the spiritual side, but there was something that was holding me back. And my business partner and mum's background, her previous life was the founder of the organic pharmacy. So it's not like I didn't know about wellness. I had a very good background, if anything. But again, it was all on a superficial level. And then when I got that acne, it really made me evaluate my whole life and was like, okay, what's going on here? Like, what are we going to do? And from that superficial moment, I knew that I needed to heal from within in order to help others, because I always wanted to help others, but I just didn't know how to help myself. And you can't help anyone unless you've helped yourself first. So that really led me, it was really crazy how quickly it all spiraled as well. Like when you're operating on this frequency, you're always on, always amazing things start to be put in your path. And that's exactly what happened to me. It's like, okay, so I decided to embark on my healing journey. Then, we still got the idea for Eyeam. My mum formulated our first two products that helped me heal my hormonal acne from the inside out, because we believe about treating the root, not the symptom. Of course, your symptoms get treated. However, you need to treat the root, because otherwise the symptoms keep coming back. So, and it was so quickly how it all kind of transpired. And then that led me to embark on my nutritional coaching. So I studied with the Integrative Institute of Nutrition. I became a certified practitioner with them. And that really led me to just start healing other people as well as myself. And it was really beautiful.
It's such a nice journey. I mean, it's so interesting because obviously the skin is the largest organ in the body and it's also the largest filtration system. So
Mhm.
the time, if you actually kind of combine, you call it woo-woo, but kind of the spiritual with the science, there's a lot of things that connect.
Totally.
And what I find really interesting is you spoke about how everything kind of once you started on that journey, everything started spiraling for you. And what I love about your kind of mindset of you've got to treat the root, it's actually very European
Mhm.
mindset because in the other markets
Yeah,
outside the UK, skincare is predominantly purchased from pharmacy. You're speaking to practitioners and they're looking to treat the
totally.
cause, not mask and kind of deal with the symptom or the outcome.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting how there are a lot of kind of science-based practices that align with the kind of approach that you have, but also the
Yeah.
spiritual. Talk to me a little bit about the spiritualism bit. So there are going to be lots of
Mm.
people today that are kind of like, really?
Yeah, they're like, what?
Yeah, and do you know what? It's not for everybody. And I very much would say I have one foot in each camp. So
Likewise.
I want to believe, I do believe, I kind of like I was telling you before we started recording, I had Reiki last night. Absolutely mind-blowing experience for anyone that wants to just really push themselves and try and be so much more aware, think about it and do it, just try it. But then I also really believe in the science.
Mhm.
And what I love about Eyeam as a brand is they very much embody both. But
Yes.
for people that aren't so much aware of the spiritual side and more the science, talk to me a little bit about what that journey looks like and actually why
Yeah.
it's got such a big impact.
Well, I was always into the woo-woo, but I always like to back everything with science. And that's really what our whole brand is based on. We back every single thing with science. And when I trained to be a nutritionist, that led me to the process of habit stacking. And I always did affirmations before, but I never really practiced them because I thought, I just, life gets in the way. You forget things. We have a million things on our minds. Our minds are racing all the time. And that led me to find out about habit stacking. And this is when you pair two good habits with each other. And if we want to talk on a spiritual level, that's not that woo-woo. So that's something that everyone can embark on. And there's so many scientific studies how that helps, because basically what it does is it creates the automatic response to do the affirmation practice, because really that's what people weren't doing is, and affirmations have been scientifically proven to decrease threat and defensiveness, which is, if you look at your nervous system, and really a lot of our problems are due to stress. So if we looked at our nervous system regulation and we use a tool like habit stacking affirmations with your skincare, which is basically what we call it the Eyeam prescription. And that is really what is going to make the difference, because you could be doing all the topical stuff. You could be taking the supplements. You could be doing this. You could be doing that. But if you are angry, sad, or on a constant high stress lifestyle, this is going to increase your inflammation. And inflammation is a that is the cause of acne. It's an inflammatory problem most of the time. And so you really need to focus on decreasing your inflammation, and that will then spiral. So from the spiritual aspect, really, I call it my Eyeam healing toolbox. And I actually have my little toolbox here. So anyone's watching, this is like my healing toolbox. And that's basically what Eyeam was created about, is my own personal healing toolbox that helped me heal from within and transform my life. Because, people, we, our customers and anyone that is on a healing journey, they're looking for transformation. They're looking to transform their life. They're not happy where they are. And sometimes that takes a little bit of this spiritual woo-woo to kind of kickstart that journey. So the healing toolbox really consists of minimizing stress and regulating your nervous system, like I said before. And you can do this with supplementation, daily practices like gratitude, affirmation. If you measure gratitude versus anger on the scale of hertz, that's the measurement. Gratitude is like 700 hertz versus anger, which is like 50 hertz. And so if you're looking at a measurement, we want to be operating on that high measurement, because then all the blessings start coming, all the healing starts coming, and then you can really you'll start to see the difference, because we have a brain, and we do have a brain, obviously. Duh.
I don't
And
know. I feel like I don't sometimes.
well, what you need to start saying is, I have a brain, I have an amazing brain, and it works fantastically. And you
Hey,
sort of
brain.
keep reminding yourself, yeah, amen to that. So our brain has our subconscious brain is where all our beliefs live. And all our actions are based on our beliefs. If we can change our beliefs, then we can change our actions, and then we can start igniting the healing. If we can't change the beliefs, then always things will block you from true healing, like anything that you want. This applies to all things, not just health and wellness, but jobs, love life, like everything. And the only way you can change your subconscious beliefs is through the word and the power of affirmation. And that's where affirmations come in and start really, changing your whole life. And there's really an amazing science-backed process, which is called neuroplasticity. And this is the process of our brain regenerating itself every 2 to 3 weeks. So if you don't like something, you can change it. The issue is that we don't believe that we have the power to change it. And so that's how we get stuck in our ways. And that's how the cycle continues. Of course, we need more than just, I don't think of, oh yeah, like just do the natural way and, just do the woo way. It's a more of an and or. It's like, okay, so I've been told that I need to take Roaccutane. I was also told to take Roaccutane for my acne. And I was like, no, no, no. My kind of journey also, when I was going through my healing journey, I decided to come off the pill at that point. I'd been on it for 8 years. And that really, really messed up my whole system, because I knew that I shouldn't be on it anymore. But I just had so many negative side effects. I had no period for such a long time. My acne was at an all-time low, my mood, my gut, everything. Because basically what the pill does is it actually messes with your gut flora and your gut pH. So, and all of our serotonin and dopamine is produced in our gut. Like 90% of our serotonin is made in the gut. So that have really negatively affected my mood. And so that then perpetuates that stress, and then the cycle continues, and then the acne gets worse. Of course, I looked at also doing an anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle. Again, this is reducing inflammation. My kind of key role was to reduce inflammation, and that is through mind, body, spirit, and skin practices. So that's really kind of where it goes. And then you also have the other tools that go onto the spiritual side, like the crystals, all of that sort of stuff. So there's just, and I can go deeper into it, but that's really kind of the spiritual meets the science, and that's what we're all about.
I mean, it's so. I mean, I obviously sit both sides of the fence, and I understand the
Yeah.
science on a deep level. And there's so many things that when again, I spoke to someone last night about exactly this, and I said I believe in the science, but I also believe in the spiritual. And she went, they're the same thing. You're just looking at them from a different perspective. And I thought that was so
I
powerful.
love that.
Yeah, and so you've kind of transitioned me perfectly onto my next question. Talk to me more about your beliefs in the power of crystals,
Mm,
because you actually have crystals in your formulations in some way or
yeah.
another. Talk about that, but you also have them in your physical packaging. So you have rose quartz as your roller balls within a lot of your products. Talk to me about
Yeah.
your beliefs and how you believe, and also what you know crystals can do to have that positive impact on skincare.
Yeah. So if anyone's watching, I just took out the product. And so not only do we have a rose quartz crystal ball there as the applicator, so anyone that's listening and can't see this, we've got a ball utensil that you can use on your lips, eyes, and spot treatment. This is made out of rose quartz. Obviously, they're not all the same product. They're three separate products, but in the same packaging. And then inside all of our formulas, we have activated quartz crystal elixir that we have made personally. And I'm going to get into the science of that because we understand that people are like, okay, a crystal, whatever, not really a big deal. You know, how are you activating it? What does that even mean? What is the elixir? What do you do? So I want to start by saying, and quote by Nicholas Tesla, and he goes, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And that's really what the power of crystals is all about. It's a tool to help us harness that energy, frequency, and vibration. So anyone's that listening, and we're going to do this together now. We're going to do a little exercise, and I'm going to show you guys how you can feel that energy because we can't see it. This is the issue about the belief side on it, is because we can't see it, we're like, I don't really understand it. But some people are more tapped into it and can feel it. But I'm going to show you everyone a way to feel it, and then you can understand that unseen world that we're harnessing. So I'm going to ask everyone to start rubbing their hands together.
So ready for this?
Yeah, start rubbing your hands together and just keep it going until you make some nice heat in between your hands. Feel the friction. And then you're going to pull your hands apart and you're going to feel this vibration in between your hands. That is the energy that we have just created. And that is exactly what I'm talking about in a way to harness it. And so, just like we've created that, our whole body, our minds, our thoughts, our words, our clothes, our food, everything has energy, frequency, and vibration. And if you are eating things, or if you're doing things, or you're thinking things, or you're around people that don't serve your best self and create a low vibration, because if you think of it on a scale, or a sound dial, you turn up the volume, you hear everything louder, you're more in tune, it sounds better, da 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 da. Versus putting it down, you can't hear anything. You're just not tapped in. So that's our energy and that's our frequency and that's our vibration. And if we can, the more we raise our vibration, the more we turn that dial up, the more that we start to align and the divine synchronicities start to happen. So like what I was saying earlier is, it was like I was just in the right place at the right time always. And I feel every single day I'm always in the right place, always at the right time. It's like, obviously I work so hard, but sometimes it feels like I'm not trying because of how things just fall into my lap. Like I'm like, oh, like that's a really good idea. And it's almost like I get all these downloads all the time. So, I remember I was speaking to someone and they were like, oh, it's really hard for me to think of creative ideas. And I was like thinking, like, I do not have that problem. I really don't have that problem and that's not an ego thing because it's not my idea. These are all downloads that we get from this energy. And, it's given to the masses to help. That's what we're here to do, really. And so connecting this vibration, we put that into our formulas and put that into our crystals. And so we get a Marcel Vogel crystal. So what that means is there was this guy called Marcel Vogel. He was a scientist. He worked at IBM for 27 years. He invented crystal LED screens. He made that with crystals. You see them typically at bus stops and stuff like that, or like big LED screens buildings and stuff like that. So he invented all of those things with crystals, and he learned that by taking certain cuts of crystals, you could program them and actually get them to do things that you needed. Because, like I said, everything is made of energy, frequency, and vibration. And the reason we have this even ethos and all this education is my business partner, aka Mum, is a cosmetic formulator, scientist, and homeopath. So she knows how to actually extract all of that. And she did a full course and educational, thing on crystal healing specifically and how the science behind crystals. That's why we've got all this amazing backing of the science, because I get it. It sounds weird. It sounds woo-woo. You're like, oh, psh, like what, you programmed a crystal to heal my skin? Yeah, we actually did. That's exactly what we did. And so think of the crystal as the healing software, and we're the computer, and we're basically biohacking our software with this healing software. We're biohacking our computer for this healing software. So that's really kind of the power of crystals and how that can, help your skin. And then when you do that with the power of affirmation, pairing the two is so powerful. And then pairing it with the synergy of natural but efficacious, ingredients. Like we have really innovative ingredients that no one else is using, not yet at least. We've got an ingredient called calm mandarin, which helps reduce redness and pro-inflammatory on the skin. And this is made from upcycled ingredients and mandarins. And then we've got something in our supplement called, I'll show it to everyone. It's called Timut Pepper, and this works on your gut brain skin axis. Mine's actually a little bit darker than everyone else's normally, if for those of you that can see, because because we're all small batch, every batch we make is individual, we can customize it on doses. And so on my one specifically for me is a little bit higher dose on Agnus cassis, just because the pill really takes a long time to heal, and I still need healing from that. So I just needed a little extra dose of that for myself personally. And so, going back to the affirmations, it's proven, like there are studies proven that it alleviates threat and defensiveness. And going back to that, that is the fight or flight in our nervous system, which increases our stress, increases our inflammation. And the only way to get out of that is to do well, not the only way. There's many ways to get out of that. But one way particularly is affirmation practice.
Talk
It's
to me about
amazing.
it. You're so passionate about it. I'm like, just sit here listening. I'm like, yeah, I agree with it all. It's great.
But
Um,
yeah,
talk to me about the water test that was done. So you sent me the link. Talk to me about that.
yeah. So this is a really good and this leads me on to the next thing I was even going to talk about. And words are things,
Oh, we'll get
thoughts
on to
are
that. Well, you're just
okay.
doing my job for me. I'm going, I don't really need to ask that
Yeah,
question now. Let's talk about the water,
yeah,
and then we'll talk about the power
yeah.
of words and the physical impact it has.
Yeah, so there was this study, and this is what we based our kind of whole ethos on, is there was this study that was done in the 70s by a Japanese scientist, and he spoke to water, and then he examined it through a molecular scope and looked at the molecule forms that it had. So he did one side where he spoke to water saying, I love you, thank you, started praying to it. And all of those structures looked so beautiful and had such amazing forms of like crystals and snowflakes and hearts. And it was really amazing that, just the power of word created these transformations. And just sorry, to give you context, he looked at it before he did that to see what it looked like. Measured it after and looked at it. And then there was one side that he said, I hate you. You're ugly, you disgust me, I'm gonna kill you, all of these things. And they all of the molecules were like haggedy and jagged and distorted and looked like disease. Like really, it looked like full on disease. And that just goes on to showing you how impactful our word is. And we take it for granted. We really don't, we're so careless with our word. Even if we're saying it in a way that we're joking, we're like, oh my God, like I'm so ugly today. Ha ha ha. Like that's not a joke. Like we need to stop that immediately.
Mm.
So
So
that's
that
really
saying when you were a kid, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me. And actually, it's not
a
true.
lie. No, no,
Names
that
hurt
is a
more.
lie.
It
And
hurts.
this yeah, it hurts 10 times more. And really, if you look at words, and if you everyone had a little, reflection right now and thought, okay, what are most of the thoughts that I have to myself, and what do I say to myself most frequently? And how do I speak to other people? All of these things, we'll start realizing, oh my God, we are in this negative thought loop. And this is, like I said, I don't do anything without science. So there's been so many studies shown on the negative thought loop. And so 80% of our thoughts are negative and 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. So really almost 100% of the time we are on this constant negative thought loop. And the only way you can break that thought loop is with a positive thought loop. And what's one way to do that is positive affirmations. And that's really integral to the I am prescription because a lot of other brands have amazing ingredients. Just like us, we have incredible ingredients. We do not skimp on the ingredients, but sometimes you need more than that. And that's kind of like what we're here to do.
So there's obviously, you've mentioned there's been a lot of research and discussion, particularly as of late. Manifestation
Yeah.
has been around for hundreds of years, affirmation, all these things. But we talk about trends and where people are at, journaling, manifestation,
Mm.
thinking your way. All of these things are very much becoming more popular. People are more aware of it, but people are also trying to
Yeah.
kind of dabble with it, and they might not be getting it right, but they're happy to give it a go. But there's been so much discussion and noise in the industry around the positive physical impact that manifestation and kind of affirmations and positive mindset can have, which is obviously at the heart of I am.
Yeah,
Talk to
totally.
me more about that specifically. So we've spoken about general woo-woo and everything else, but talk to me about actually what can it do for you?
The affirmations. Yeah, so basically, I'll tell you a little bit about my own personal journey. I was saying constant negative things to myself. I couldn't get out of this negative thought loop. And by the way, I want to say that I'm not perfect and it still can happen to me, but it's more like how can we get out of this fight or flight or this loop? My spiritual healer says it very well. He calls it the pity party. And sometimes like, I know it's harsh, but sometimes we need to get out of that pity party and we need to snap ourselves out of it. Watching this TV show called Palm Royale, and she was saying, there was one point where she was like, oh, but like nobody likes me and I'm so hopeless. And then she slaps herself and goes, snap out of it, Maxime. That's basically what we need to
That's
do.
hilarious.
Yeah, we need to snap out of it. And sometimes it's important to acknowledge how we feel. It's not about suppressing the feeling because when we suppress anything, then that's when it can come and, explode. But it's more about, okay, I feel like this. These are the steps I need to take to feel better. And I'm going to whip out my affirmations. So literally, you'll see I look so crazy sometimes, like throughout my day, because like I get the negative thoughts a lot all the time. And I'll say, nope. I'll be like, no, no, stop. Like stop that right now. And I'm like, no, I'm so beautiful and I'm amazing and I'm not tired and I'm amazing. Like, you just like need to remind yourself. It's like think of your affirmation as like your bestie that would kind of be there for you to remind,
Cheerleader.
yeah, like your own personal cheerleader. And really, affirmations are a declaration of how you want to feel. So if you don't like how you feel, all you need to do is start practicing affirmations. And by the way, I will say it's so hard to say something when you're like, I don't believe this, like I just don't believe it right now. But it doesn't matter because, like I said, words have power. thoughts have power. And when I didn't believe my own affirmations in the beginning, when I started saying them in the mirror, I was like, oh my God, like I feel so stupid. Like this is so weird. Like I don't want to tell myself I'm beautiful. I'm telling myself my skin is clear, but I have acne all over my face. Like the two didn't, on paper didn't correlate with each other.
Yeah.
But eventually I started saying them. And then one day I was like, looked at my skin and I said, oh my God, my skin is clear. Like my skin is so much better today. And then, I would be like, wait, I'm so beautiful. I'm so amazing. I'm so powerful. I'm so strong. And it's just the key is the repetition. All you need to do is repeat, repeat, repeat. And that's where we are here to do. And that's why we've habit stacked. We call it stacking the hack, stack the hack, and stacking your skincare or, our skincare specifically, because ours is made with so much intention. Like we're not like regular skincare brands. We're a two-man band, my mum and myself. She's the cosmetic formulator. I do all the marketing and I mean, to be fair, it's very collaborative. We do everything together, but she handles all the production and everything is small batch. We're sustainable literally every single step of the way. Like we've thought of every single thing because community, it means so much to us and we want to help. Our main mission is to help people and then the rest follows, like all the success and the money and all of that. Like that's a bonus of really our true mission is to help people transform and people to heal. And that's by doing the affirmations, living this anti-inflammatory lifestyle. That's why we offer so much education with our content. So if you go on our website, we have a whole biohacking, like we call it our biohacks. And you really, really can have so much, you can read so much about hormone health, gut, brain, skin axis, the power of affirmation, like all of these things. And it's really important to me because flare-ups are so normal, especially if you do it the natural route. And I am someone that gets flares up, especially if I'm stressed. It's not easy being a businesswoman. And, we want to be successful. We want to, all these things, life, comparison. Like I'm not immune to it all. I'm just as susceptible as anyone else. However, my bounce back rate is much quicker than maybe the average person because of my Eyeam healing toolbox. And that's what I want to share with everyone else.
It's really, I think skincare in particular, I think is really interesting as well because I have this conversation all the time. The reason that I love the beauty category and the health beauty category so much is because there is nothing more personal than self-growth. And self-growth doesn't have to mean you're going out there trying to become a humanitarian, a better person. It
Yeah.
might just be your own demons, your own challenges, whether that's skin, not liking your hair. And some of this is actually forced upon us, right? And it's not just women,
Yeah.
it's men. But women in particular, we're still, this narrative is constantly out there. We're still fighting this that,
Yeah.
getting older is a problem and, not looking a certain way. We're now in a world where everybody looks like everybody else. That individualism is really starting to disappear because of social media, because of celebrities and influencers, and our younger generations that are entering, they're sitting on a different level. They're saying to us, look after the planet, but they also need guidance on how to look after themselves, and they're curious. And I think we've got this kind of these different cohorts of people and societies now that look at brands in a different way.
Yeah.
And what I think is really interesting and great about your brand is most skincare brands focus their messaging around the physical benefits. So we're talking,
Yeah.
like you said, right at the early doors, the solution. Yeah. How can you deal with the symptom? And a lot of skincare products talk about that. Whereas your brand really leans in and acknowledges the emotional benefits,
Mm.
also strain that people go through when they have problematic skin or just when they aren't liking what they see in the mirror. You don't
Yeah.
have to have acne to not like what you see in the mirror. And
Totally.
and you can't hide. If you do have bad skin, you can't hide from it. You really can't.
Trust me. I
Yeah, it's I growing up, I'm really lucky that I work really hard on my lifestyle and have clear-ish skin now. I get the odd spot like everybody, but actually I've got great skin. But when I was younger, I didn't. And it changes how you hold yourself, and you really do go inward because you feel like everyone that's looking at you is judging you, even though they're not. And
Oh my
I,
gosh.
you know,
Oh my God.
I teach at weekends, and I have students, and I teach theatre, and I'm getting them to kind of do all these things. And the amount of kids that get emotional because they're like, people are watching me. And so I'll
Yeah.
I'll quietly pull them out of the class, and I'll go, right, just stand with me for a minute. And I'll go, right, guys, carry on. And I'll get them to look around, and I'll say, has any single person looked up and looked at anybody else yet? And she's like, no. And I'm like, no one is watching you. They're so focused on themselves. But this world of trolling and social media and all these other things, and this ability to share these, I mean, TikTok's just bloody created a dislike button. Why we did that, I don't know. Um,
Yeah,
but as a brand, you
literally.
talk about the emotional impact of having bad skin. Why,
Yeah.
apart from your own journey, why is it so important? And do you think the industry actually could do more and have more conversation in this area?
1,000,000%. So, it is Mental Health Awareness Month this month. And we were, when we were doing our comms, and whenever we do comms, we always think of, it has to be really personal to me and, like how I resonate with it because I feel so connected with my personal journey. And the reason that, before I launched, I started doing TikTok videos about my skin, about my healing journey, and so many people resonated with me and got a little bit of traction. And so I always keep that in mind. I'm like, what would me during my healing journey need? Like, what does someone on their healing journey need? And we always say, I like came up with this idea. It's like girls or anyone that's gone through acne may be the toughest people out there because it's not for the weak hearted. It's not for the faint because you literally go out your house and you're like thinking, oh my God, everyone's looking at me. You cancel all the plans. Like if even now, like if I have any flare-ups, if I feel not comfortable in my body, like I want to cancel all plans because before my healing journey, I was basically doing like 5 out of 5 things to cause hormonal imbalance, but we weren't educated in this field. Women's health and women's female reproductive health was so overlooked for so many years. All studies on diets, food, nutrition, even like vaccines have all been done on men.
Yep.
That's why they stick us on the pill. And they're like, there you go. When I had acne again and I came off the pill and I had no period, they said to me, you got 3 options. You can either go back on the pill, take spirulactane or go on Racutane. And I said, oh my gosh, like all you do is want to treat my symptoms and not the root. And that's where it really led us to create our hormone balancing supplement and our crystal clear spot and pigmentation treatment because that helped me heal personally. And I think other brands really need to incorporate this educational piece and community, building a community like honestly, the messages that we get is so just it could almost make me cry because it's so beautiful to see like how much we can impact someone's life. And it's like when you're trying to build a band, sometimes you're kind of laser focused on the mass and you're like, oh, I just want to grow big and I want to reach these sales and blah, blah, blah. But you forget that you have a small community is still a community. And even if you're helping one person, that is so incredible. And so I realized with my own experience, and if I'm stressed, then I need to get myself back on track. And that's what other brands can really incorporate with it, as well as I think there will definitely be a trend now of like community driven, nervous system regulation, all of that sort of stuff. It's really, really important. I think everyone should learn about it, and all brands should, focus on the emotional as much as the physical.
I mean, there's more and more people are talking about somatic exercises, right? And some and all
Yeah,
different
exactly.
types of
Also, if I had the reason that I even started doing TikTok is because, like I said, I didn't wasn't educated when I was growing up in terms of everything was to look good rather than feel good. And so, we did all these crazy diets. I had a terrible relationship with my body and myself and negative thought patterns around my body. I, was heavily drinking. I remember reading this one article when I was like 14 or something, and it was like a negative article. They were saying like, don't do it. But they were talking about it, and they were talking about this girl with this eating disorder, and they were saying how she put her calories into her alcohol rather than food. And so she didn't eat anything, but she just drank. And, I feel like that's something that we all, like, maybe I growing up did. And it's just really crazy that the education and the content that we were given was so detrimental. Like the crazy lemon cayenne pepper juice master cleanse, like that's crazy. And like crazy for like a 15-year-old to be like even trying that. And so that was really like my aim of Eyeam, and also like my personal channels, is to educate people and how that they can look their best, feel their best, but not drive their hormones into the ground, because that's really what I did. I drove my hormones into the ground by excessive drinking, toxin overload. And the reason that our hormones can't handle that is because when our liver is too busy trying to detoxify all the toxins you're putting in, this can be from food, this can be from alcohol, this can be from cosmetics, household cleaning products, perfumes, anything, then it doesn't have time to detoxify your hormones, because all our hormones are detoxified through our liver. And so when that it's too busy doing something else because of all the toxins you're putting in, it doesn't have time to then detoxify your hormones. So then they get pushed back into your bloodstream. And that's how you get hormonal imbalance. Because if you don't know this, all of our hormones don't work at the same time, especially, I'm talking about women specifically. So, women, for their hormone cycles, we have different hormones at different times. And that's our, menstrual cycle. We have our follicular phase, our ovulatory phase, and, it's different types, our luteal
Yep.
phase, different times of our hormones coming out. And so if our body is too busy trying to detoxify all the stuff that we put in it, then it doesn't have time to do that. And then this causes a hormonal balance. This is why this is such a hot topic right now, is because a lot of people have been doing this stuff for 10 years, living their life, being overworked, overstressed, and consuming toxins mentally, physically, and spiritually, because people are toxic. Like there are people that are toxic, and environments can be toxic. I'm not talking about ingredients, I'm talking about energy and like people, emotions. This is and how this works is through our stress hormone cortisol. And so when we see the stress in our, we see it in our eye, that then triggers our HPA axis, which is kind of a method in our brain, in our hormones that activate that adrenaline and then release the cortisol. And so when you have all this information, you're like, I could never go back to the way I was living. And so that's what we want to provide. We want to provide that education on how to literally live your best life. Because I know that if I grew up like that, I feel like I would have been in a much better place growing up. But listen, everything happens for a reason. I'm so blessed and I'm so thankful.
I think as well, you have to be ready to have that and educate yourself
Yeah.
in that. A huge part of that journey does come with age, because it just does.
Yes.
You're invincible when you're younger. And I think that's a big part of it. Um, your passion, your knowledge is just so inspiring. And I just love hearing you speak. And I think Eyeam is a really great brand. I love the products that you guys have kindly shared. I really have. And I think they just hit different. They just hit different. And I think I could talk to you about this stuff for hours, but
Literally hours.
I know, but I have one last question for you. If you could give one piece of advice to marketeers listening today, based on everything that you've learned and where you think the industry could be, what would that advice be?
So this is something that took me a really long time to learn, and I still struggle with it. But I would say that when you're, especially for people that are high achievers, and people that work in marketing are normally high achievers. So that's really, we have this stress overload, and we want to be perfect, and we want to deliver on our deliverables, and, we have deadlines, etc., etc. But what I've realized is nothing is so important that it can't wait 30 minutes or at least an hour or even the next day. Like nothing is that important that it's going to be the be all end all. So my advice is don't stress yourself out by working yourself to death and really implement the self-care you need because otherwise you can't work productively, and there's science behind it. I mean, I'll say it quickly because it's really interesting, but we have a cycle like our circadian rhythm, which is our sleep. We've also got a another cycle called our ultradian cycle, and this it peaks up and down throughout the day, and this is the cycle of when we want to take breaks and when we get, when we get fatigued after doing something for too long. And if we ignore these breaks, we normally are really productive for 90 minutes and then we kind of hit a slump and then we start, crashing and whatever, and we get unproductive and blah, blah, blah. If we continue to ignore those breaks and don't take adequate breaks every 2 hours, like I'm not talking about a long break, like I'm talking about like 2 minutes, like of just like a little deep breath or just a lie down, not looking at your phone, not looking at your laptop, not looking at anything, it really can, it improves productivity, it improves, decreases stress. So this is really why I always say nothing is so important that it can't wait 30 minutes. So don't work yourself to death and really just implement the right self-care because otherwise you crash. And then that can lead to excess inflammation. It also, that sort of cycle, if we can then lead to bad choices in food, poor choices in food that will then trigger the whole other cycles of bad skin, bad stomach, like poor gut microbiome, all of these sort of things, which then affect our brain because our gut and our brain are connected. So there's so much more to life than stress. So, and I needed that reminder as well.
Oh, thank you so, so much. What a lovely little piece of advice. Roxy, you've been an absolute superstar. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Well,
much.
Well, I thought we could end by taking a little affirmation out of we've got an affirmation deck called In My Healing Era, because that's really like the girls, all the boys, all the people that are in their healing era, this is their brand for them. So I thought let's do an affirmation together, and this can be anyone that's listening, this can be their affirmation of the day, can be all of our affirmations of the day, and we can really just revel in it because affirmations is a declaration of how you want to feel. So I'm going to pick a card. I've got, for anyone that's watching, I'm going to show you the cards. Let's go for this one. I'm going to choose this green one here. Oh, this is so cute. It says, I am deserving of love, joy, and fulfillment in all areas of my life. That's so beautiful. So that is your affirmation of the day. I'm going to read it out one more time. I am deserving of love, joy, and fulfillment in all areas of my life. Just repeat that 3 times today and see if you notice a shift in your body, in your mind, and your spirit.
You heard the lady. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.